Oliver Twist, Chapter 10. A New Game. It was late in the morning when Oliver woke up from a long, restful sleep. The room was empty except for Fagin. He was making coffee while softly whistling to himself. Oliver did not get up. He heard his name being whispered, but he did not respond. Oliver stayed in his bed, listening to the sounds of the city and watching the old man with half-closed eyes. Fagin reached above the fireplace. He moved some bricks aside and slowly pulled a small box out. Oliver watched Fagin rub the top of the box. Then lift the lid. One by one the old man removed the contents, one jewel after another, one gold watch after another. All of them sparkled and shone in the sunlight. Fagin turned them around and looked at them lovingly. He was lost in this activity for several minutes before noticing Oliver. The boy was watching from his bed. The old man slammed the box shut, shoved it back in its hiding place, and jumped toward Oliver. He grabbed the boy by the shirt collar and pulled him up. "What did you see, boy? What did you see?" He was very angry, and Oliver was terrified. Nothing, sir, I swear." Oliver stuttered. "I just saw a few pretty things is all. I didn't mean to disturb you." Oliver did not understand why Fagin was so angry. He was not even sure what he had seen. Fagin saw that Oliver meant no harm. "I'm sorry, boy. I was only trying to frighten you. You should be careful about who you watch around here. Not everyone is as trusting and forgiving as I am." He let go of Oliver's collar. The boy sank back down into his bed. "Did you see any of the pretty things, my boy?" Fagin asked. He spoke gently again. Oliver nodded. "Well," Fagin said, "those pretty things are for my retirement, something to help me through my old age." "That's very wise, sir," said Oliver. "I'm sure it costs a lot to help so many boys like Dodger and Charlie. It must be difficult to save." "Yes, my dear," Fagin smiled. "One must plan ahead." He rubbed Oliver's head. "And now it's time to get up. There are still a few sausages from breakfast." Oliver stood up. He changed into another shirt and sat at the table. Even with sunlight coming through the open windows, the room still looked small. As a matter of fact, the sunlight only made the dirt and grime easier to see. Oliver finished his meal and asked Fagin what he could do to help. "How would you like to play a game?" Fagin said. This was something new to Oliver. There had been very few chances in his life to play games. By the time he and the other boys had finished their day at the workhouse, they were too tired to play. "What sort of game would you like to play?" he asked. "It's quite simple," Fagin replied. He filled his pockets with various items, a small box, a watch, a wallet, and a handkerchief. "Now," he said, "I want you to try to remove these objects from my pockets without me noticing." Oliver giggled. "How will I do that?" "Simply try, my good boy," Fagin said. "Wait until I'm looking the other way and carefully reach in." Fagin slowly walked around the room. He pretended to look out the window or closely examine a book or glass. Oliver snuck up beside him and tried to pull out the wallet. Fagin turned suddenly and Oliver jumped back. He continued walking about the room without comment. The boy tried again and was successful the second time. He held the wallet up for Fagin to see, but the old man ignored him. Oliver understood that he should try for the other objects. Finally, Fagin said, "You're a clever lad, my dear, one of the smartest I've ever seen. If you go on this way, you'll be the greatest man of the time." Oliver wondered how taking things from Fagin's pockets would make him a great man. At that moment, the door flew open and two women walked in. "Well, Fagin," one of them said, "what do you have to say today?" "Nancy," the old man said, "you startled me. You shouldn't surprise an old man like that." "Ah," Nancy replied, "it'll take a lot more than a scare to put an end to you. She noticed the young boy holding the wallet and handkerchief. "What now?" she said. "Who's this?" Oliver looked at Nancy. She was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. She was in her early 20s with long red hair. Her dress was stained and had worn edges, but Oliver did not notice. Nancy's bright green eyes watched him closely. She nudged her friend, a smaller, dark-haired girl. "Well, come now, Oliver," Fagin said. Say hello to Nancy and Bet." Oliver bowed toward the women. They bowed in return. "It's nice to finally meet a proper gentleman, Oliver," Nancy laughed. "Wouldn't you agree, Bet?" "Certainly," Bet said. "He's like a breath of fresh air." The two women laughed. It was not mean, though. Nancy and Bet had lived hard lives, but they still had kind hearts. They did not show a soft side often, but Oliver brought it out in them. The young boy blushed from all the attention. He looked at the old man. Fagin was laughing to himself, clearly pleased with the events. Nancy placed a basket on the table and held her hand toward Fagin. "I've come for Bill's money. He sent me round for it." Nancy stopped smiling. Oliver watched as Nancy and Fagin argued over the money owed. This was the first time our young hero heard the name Bill Sikes. He quickly understood that Bill was Nancy's boyfriend and that Fagin owed Bill money. Oliver noticed something unusual in Fagin's voice. The old man seemed nervous while discussing Bill. Oliver eventually realized that everyone was afraid of Bill Sikes. When Nancy got the money, all the money she asked for, she picked up her basket. "Are you ready, Bet?" she said. "It's time we were off." Oliver followed them to the door. "And you, my fine young man," Nancy said. She held his chin in her hand. "You had best take care of yourself, and don't let this old man change you too much." Nancy kissed him on one cheek and Bet on the other. Oliver blushed again. He waved at the two women as they walked out the door.